Hey, Michael, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How you doing?
Great.
Now I'm gonna put into the agenda. Oh no, just give me a minute. Let me grab my agenda.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, all.
Hi.
I hope.
Hello.
Hello.
Just want to make sure everyone knows this is iced tea, not whiskey.
Why would we believe you?
Yeah. Why would we believe you,
Well,
Stephen?
I'll just say the whiskey comes later.
Right.
And this is not wine. This is coffee.
I don't know if I believe that.
You should.
Sorry, people. I had to hop from one meeting to another. So, okay. Let's see. Mr. Chair, I'm ready whenever you are. It's already
Okay.
past 4.
So calling to order the Barrio Historico Historic Zone Advisory Board meeting for Thursday, November 14th, 2024 at 4 p.m. We'll do a roll call. Philip is not going to be here today. Darren?
Here.
Paolo here. Hope?
Here.
Mitch?
Here.
Stephen?
Here.
And Grace.
Here.
Great. So item number 2 is going to be review and approval of draft legal action report and meeting minutes. Michael, what is the draft legal action report? I don't know if we discussed that last time.
It's a report from the last meeting. The last meeting we had was 10/14. Just this word draft is not really a draft, it's actually the legal action report. For the last meeting which we had in October, which was October 15th, which was basically the meeting that we had that Chuck Meyer was here and he came as a courtesy review to you. That's the meeting we're talking about.
So this is just the minutes?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
one document, the meeting minutes and the
Just
legal
one
action
document.
report.
Okay. I move to accept.
I second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
And Hope,
Aye.
Grace,
Aye.
Darren, Mitch. Yep. Okay. Minutes from 10/14/2024 have been approved. Number 3, call to audience. Is there anybody in the audience, Michael?
I did not receive any.
Okay, so we can move on to our first and only review. 58 West Cushing Street. I believe this was a courtesy review on the last meeting, and I don't remember who was presenting this, so if you can,
It's Chuck Meyer.
okay, Chuck, go ahead, and the floor is yours.
Appreciate it. First, I want to thank you guys for your comments at our last meeting. They were very informative for all of us. We went back through and kind of walked through the neighborhood, try to understand the character of it a little bit more. Took some of your suggestions under advisement, made some modifications to our design. I have an agenda here. It's going to jump around a little bit different than what I presented. We want to talk about some certain action items up front before sequentially out of the document. But just as a reminder, this is the old dentist building. I think some of you actually went there or something. Sherry owns it. She's turning it into her lawyer's office. We're demoing a small.
Chuck, you can share your screen. I made you the co-host so you can share your screen.
Okay, thank you very much. It's not allowing me to do, Michael.
Yeah, it should.
Try again.
The co-host now, just like you did last time, click on the share button and you should be able to share.
The share button is not highlighted. It's not giving me the option to do it.
You try again, let me give you permission again now.
Let me try again.
You should be able to share now.
There we go. Perfect. Got it. Okay. So the floor plan, we're demolishing a little portion of an addition that was done back here. And we're rebuilding in the same footprint. So we're not changing the scope of I'm not changing the footprint, the square footage of the building at all. What I'd like to do is just kind of just jump in. One of the concerns last time the committee had to do with how we were addressing the parapet in the back. Originally, we had the parapet going straight back, and it was suggested that maybe, the character and some of the reasonings for the, as additions were added to in these buildings, that they start to step towards the back. And we found a couple examples in what we've identified as the development zone that shows that being stepped. So we went and took that advisement and are showing that the parapet is being stepped in the back. There's an existing roof structure here in this front part of the parapet. So we need to be able to maintain that roof. We don't want to change the ceiling out because this is part of the original adobe building. And we need to make sure that we can have enough of a can roof it up, and so we don't have any water issues. So we're matching the underside of the eave for this hip here, and then as we get back to the addition, we're stepping it down to try to create that the character for the neighborhood. If there's no questions or comments about that, I'll just keep moving forward. One of the other things that you guys we talked about at extent was the tile that we were proposing on the along the front foundation on Cushing Street, and then also on the fireplace and the private patio in the back. We walked, like I said, we walked the neighborhood, spent quite a bit of time in the development zone. We even went outside of the development zone a little bit to try to see what options, what examples we could find. So the two options that we have are, we can either just do stucco along the front off of Cushing Street, and then do stucco on the parapet on the fireplace. But I think really what Sherry, the building owner, would like to be able to do is to have some sort of she found a basalt rock at one of the yards So we'd like to try to, and we had a contractor go and see if we could cut that so we still get, you know, the depth of the basalt rock. So it's not a 2-inch veneer. It's not like the stack stone that you see now. You're still going to have the depth of it. You're still going to have the texture, the character of the neighborhood. But we'd be able to use that potentially as a veneer. You know, either along that foundation line off of Cushing Street, and or as an option, a portion of the fireplace that we're going to put in the patio, the private patio in the back. And you know, we've got we'll talk about the fireplace for a minute. We've got a couple different options for the fireplace, and you know, depending on what we choose to go with will depend on where we put that basalt on there. And then, so I'm just going to keep moving forward. We talked about the windows as well. What our original intention is on the facade facing Cushing Street of this building, and there's various other examples in the neighborhood of casement windows, right? So she really was trying, and underneath her patio, there's an existing casement window with a transom above that, and she really likes that look. So she really liked to try to keep, you know, a casement style window with a transom above, you know, just taking the vernacular of her building that's already there and just trying to reproduce it, you know, on other parts of her building. You know, all of her doors have transoms above them as well. We just would try to emulate that as well with whatever new doors that we'd put on there. We do have a couple different options for that. You know, if the casement windows is something, you know, that the neighborhood's trying to steer clear of, you know, that's her first option. But if they're trying to steer clear of it, you know, we could go with a single hung window that has, you know, a prairie look on the top portion of the window. You know, eliminate the transoms at that point, and you know, just have a single hung. There were some examples, actually just down Cushing Street, on that's 116 West Cushing Street. I can show you a picture of some windows that are single hung, but they were longer windows than like a normal 3.0 kind of 3.0 4.0. I can show you example of that. What I'm referring to. Like I said, I'm jumping around from what we presented. So in this building here, you can see these got these, you know, double hungs here. I apologize. You can see that they're longer, you know, than a standard kind of a single hung that we have there. And Sherry really, you know, likes that idea of a longer window. You know, whether we do the casement, which, you know, this, I'm going to backpedal a little bit. On that back patio, originally we had sliding glass doors there, and that, you know, and that it didn't fit the character. You know, there's not part of the vernacular of the Barrio really. So what we decided to do was we removed the sliding glass doors. We're going with one single French door with the window on either side of it. So you know, if we can do the casement, you know, with this kind of, you know, prairie look for the grills, that would be great. You know, obviously we're showing a longer window here as well. I think we've got it 18 inches above finished floors. We wouldn't have to temper it, just a code issue. But then if we ended up, you know, doing single hungs, again, we would try to, you know, have longer windows as our primary option. But you know, we could just go with the standard 3.0 4.0. You know, I just want to remind everybody too that, and I know that all facades of this building need to be taken into consideration, not just from the Cushing Street. But this area back here is going to be behind. It's a private patio. So, you know, when we get to the fencing conversation here in a minute, you know, we're really trying to find an opaque, you know, fencing that will work. So you're not going to see much behind, you know, the fireplace, the base of the fireplace. Obviously you'll see part of the chimney or the windows or doors, you know, so that Sherry can have some privacy back there. which,
Chuck?
you know, yes.
So are you proposing two window style options? Is that?
Yeah, yeah, so what we heard what the committee said last time as far as not wanting to do, a casement. So if she does a casement, which is what her desire is, she likes this grill style for that, okay? But if the casement isn't going to be, it's not acceptable or it's not advisable, then at that point, then we would transition to the single hung, with the grills on the top portion of the windows, which you see quite a bit throughout.
And
You see casement.
when you say casement, do you mean steel casement windows, or what are you referring to with the
So
term?
just the casement is just it has the hinges on the side and just rotates out 90 degrees.
Okay.
Which is what we have in the front of the building already.
Exactly. And there's a lot of examples throughout the barrio of the metal casement. Now, since you brought up materials, that's another question that we have here. And again, we're just weighing options and trying to understand the criteria. If our metal, and I know aluminum's not allowed, so I'm not suggesting aluminum. But our metal frame windows allowed? Is it an acceptable window material? For a remodel, or is fiberglass? A fiberglass a material that would be acceptable, or does it have to be a wood exterior frame with maybe transitions to something on the inside?
As of right now, everything is all wood.
Okay.
And then Chuck, I think I remember, but it seems like the front of the building has double hung windows.
It does not.
No.
It has a case.
It
Okay.
has metal casement windows with the transom above them in the front.
Do you think we could see that elevation, like a photo of it?
I do have of the.
The front facade?
Can you see my screen or no?
Yes.
I've got, you see Google Streets up there?
No.
No.
It's the elevations.
I had this problem last time with Zoom when I met with you guys. That's so interesting. Let me see what's going on with that.
We've got quite an extensive packet here, Chuck, this time. So I think there's going to be a lot of stuff to get through. I'd like to talk about that basalt rock that you were talking about. Do you have? Okay.
Yeah, let's see this.
Yeah. So that's a double hung on the right, and that one in the middle, that's a casement.
Well,
The one on the right
bulk-
is not my building, so that the one
Oh,
the one that says 58 is a metal casement that's blue, and then if you look over underneath the porch, that's also a metal casement window with a transom above it.
okay.
So,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
well, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask with the switch or the preference between the casement window and the double hung, it also seems like the proportion is changing. Those existing openings in the historic wall would be changing. Is that correct?
No.
The intent is to keep the proportions the same on the front. They in the adobe. I don't want to change the opening size in the adobe for sure.
On the south facade, I'm just flipping between those two options, one being the wood casement and one being the wood double hung and then the metal casement. It seems like the sizes aren't quite the same, but maybe that's just a optical illusion.
I'll double check that. The intent, the idea is to have them be the same size regardless of the window type on that facade.
Gotcha. Sorry, go ahead, Stephen.
And so question for the board and Paulo, I guess. So those steel casement windows aren't, well, I say this in a qualified context, but they're not originally historic. So what's the board, and I'm new on the board, so I'm asking, what's been the board's position on a situation like this where those are not, so those were added at some point after the building was built. Is that considered historic now?
I don't think we've had very many of these reviews where there were these metal casements. I know, if my memory serves me correctly, the building on Convent and Kennedy that was just painted, I think when they came for their window review, they had some metal casements and they proposed something else. And I think, and board, correct me if I'm wrong, that we preferred to have them keep the metal casement windows.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a kind
Mitch,
of a,
could you remember that? Or Grace?
I think you're
Yeah.
right. And yeah, I think there's also.
I think I remember.
Mhm.
I think Jody was, or were you on that review, Michael?
Yes, I remember that. I remember what you're saying for
Yeah, they were proposing some strange
Yeah.
type of window type, and
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was, aluminum or something. We said we'd rather have you keep those and refurbish those windows.
Mhm.
If,
I think
if
also sometimes there are windows that are put in their aluminum, and those are like we lean less to, but these windows appear to be the steel case windows that are older and have the kind of that hinge type. So for what that's worth.
so is the wall, so in this photograph, the wall does not seem thick enough for adobe. Do we know if that's adobe?
I do believe that is a part of the Adobe building, yes, sir.
Okay. So what's the board's position on the situation where, so my house has the same kind of casement windows that was added after the building was built. Sometime I'm guessing in the 40s or so. Essentially the same windows as this. It's on the front of our house. It's an 1894 house, so not original windows. What's the board's position on this?
I think we would look at the period of significance, right? And if the alteration was made during that period, then matching it would be appropriate. What do you guys think?
I agree with that. That's good logic, Grace.
But how would we find out what was there? And when?
Yeah, it's a great question.
That's a great question.
So will you tell us again, you want to replace these windows with the same type of window? Because
Yes.
you like it. Okay.
Correct.
And then on the back, you're hoping to do
Just
something
continue the
similar.
casement windows around, yes, let's have the same style.
Well, casement matching all the way around, right? The same style with the transom above it, just slightly different grills.
And in steel,
I'm sorry,
it would be steel, the new windows.
they'd be sealed, yes, yeah.
Steel.
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 I think that
Steel.
was a question we asked too, was whether steel was the option or whether fiberglass was an option as well, or if it had to be wood or what type of material.
I don't think fiberglass would be an option.
It would be a matter of matching this profile, right? I mean, I don't know that you would be able to do that in fiberglass.
I mean,
Also,
go ahead.
well, I would say we should look at the grills on the back because they look very different from this
Yeah,
that
they
I
are.
could see anyway from the picture, from the drawing. Like they had
Yes.
corner. Yeah.
Yes, definitely looking to try to change the grill, even on the front, as well. But before we get off the material conversation real quick, the grill is important too. If we did a wood casement window, would that be acceptable, or would it have to stay steel?
So a crank out like similar to the front window on the porch that you just showed us, but in wood, is that what you're saying?
Just as an option, I'm trying to figure out the options. I know trying to get those steel casement windows to meet building code can be a challenge, but where the wood ones are easier to do that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure on availability for that style window in wood, but you may know better than me, but
I have done some wood casement windows on projects before.
I think it would be very tricky and expensive to make that window out of a steel window. I don't know if you have some type of manufacturer that you know of, Chuck, but I think it could be very difficult to get a quality window out of steel. I mean, there's a lot of great manufacturers out there, but they're very expensive.
Yeah, and my experience has been actually trying to retrofit some of those existing frames to, you know, with whether it be glazing or whatever the case may be, but you're still, it's definitely a challenge. You're not wrong, which is why I was asking if wood would be an option, if, you know, for the casement there.
So one thing that Hope was alluding to earlier, is this, oops, I'm sorry, the window style that you're showing now is not the appropriate to the period of the house. This window style came in a couple of decades later, if not 3 or 4 decades later. So it would be, I think you would use the term prairie style, which happened in the 30s, 20s and 30s. So the casement, I guess, is up for grabs. I personally love that one that you just had changed from with the multiple, that one, yeah. So that would that be a double hung or?
Yeah, well, they'd be a double or single hung. I don't.
So that would be appropriate to the period of this house. And so again, it looks like at some point the steel casement windows in the front, were replaced the original double hungs. But that double hung look that you've got looks very appropriate to the period of the house itself.
Yeah, I think so too.
Would there be any issue matching that same style in the front ones then, so that everything is consistent around?
That would be awesome.
Yeah. Can you go back to that one photo that you were showing of that double hung?
The adjacent building.
I don't know if it was the adjacent. I think it was up on Convent farther up. It was one of the photos that you showed about to show the window style in the double hung.
I don't recall showing a picture. I think the only picture that I've shown the porch.
It was a White
This one.
House, I think.
It was a white house with red trim.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I know, yeah. That was on page 27.
Yeah.
But even the 6/1 is not inappropriate, I would say. That's a question for the board. I think I've seen that in the neighborhood, the six light over 1 light.
Yeah, I think I have too.
You're talking about the option 2 on mine. It's actually next door to my building right now. It is the same style with window.
Yeah.
Okay.
The 6/1.
And I just,
Building to the east. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
and I want to make sure that again, this is a qualified statement. We can't make you change your front windows. So if you wanted to keep those windows, you can do that. If you're willing to spend the money on, making it look better, if you will, that's fantastic. But I don't think this board has the authority to make you replace your front windows.
Understood. Thank
Yeah,
you.
there you go. 6/1s.
Okay. So I guess I still have some questions as far as what the board is comfortable with, or as far as, so it seems like that this option here with this grill option here is not going to be acceptable.
No,
Correct.
Where did we end up with casements, steel, wood casements?
Wood,
Wood was okay, is acceptable?
right, but I
Okay.
think they
Yeah.
were talking about double hungs instead of the casement.
Right, so we're on to option 2, and it sounds like, is it just wood in option 2?
Hold on, actually, I was referring to this option 1 here, just in case, because casement is an option, right? But does it have to, if we go casement, does it have to be steel, or can we change it to a wood, if so desired?
I think you could change it to a wood, but I thought we were under the agreement that the double hung was the way to go.
Okay. I understand.
What the understanding was. Hope, go
I
ahead.
guess
Is there
My
a
last question-
casement option? I mean, I don't know if you're saying that you really like the rollout function. Is that what you're hoping for? If that's the case, are there other grills, that might look more like
Well,
the
that's
double hung?
why I'm asking. That's why I was asking out the material for the casement exit. If we could do wood, and if we could find, another grill option that maybe, emulated the 6/1 or something like that, and it still worked. That's kind of exactly why I'm asking the question. We could have it, appear to be a single hung with the 6/1, but it's just it functions as a casement, which, I don't know if something like that would be acceptable.
I don't, there wouldn't be any precedent for that historically speaking.
Okay.
And I just
And then
realized I'm having a
sorry.
hard time counting. Those are actually 9/1s.
Yeah.
And then what about the transoms over the windows as well, just like she has on the facade facing Cushing?
So if you did the double hungs, then they would not have had transoms.
Right. And then you could get that verticality out of it too, that seems to be more appropriate. Instead of that 3.0 or 3.040, you can get a 3.050 possibly.
Just depending on what that existing opening looks like, right?
Right.
Okay. So all right. Sherry, do you have any more questions about the windows?
No, I think everything, so in option, can we show option 2 on the screen? So this is the one that's okay within the character of the neighborhood, right? And we're good with it all the way around, and it has to be in wood, is that what I understand?
Yes.
Okay, and the longer windows next to the patio door with it are okay, because they match that other building in the neighborhood, the length of them?
Yeah, I
The
believe so.
windows next to the patio door, so I apologize because I wasn't at the last meeting if you went over this, but what is the construction type there? It seems like these openings are quite close together.
What's the wall gonna be?
Yeah.
It's gonna be just probably wood frame.
Okay, so we're having, 5 inches between the door and the window there.
Yeah, I've talked with structural. They're gonna probably have to put a beam over the whole. There won't be individual headers.
And then, but you are gonna stucco and waterproof in between.
Yes.
So Grace, are you getting at that it might be more historic if those were proportionally taller?
No, just I guess the rhythm of them, the frequency. It seems like if we're doing this in an adobe or in a block wall, you wouldn't have them this tight in a formation, or it would be a single opening. So it's just the small kind of more piecemeal or assembled feeling to having them this close together, as opposed to punched openings.
I
If they
don't
were
think.
the same height, that I think would get at what you're talking about.
Okay.
Right? Or
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that, Stephen. What? I mean, I understand Grace's point, and it's a very important point that
Yeah.
nobody thought of.
Well, I'm just saying if those windows flanking that door were more toward the proportion of those three windows to the far
Right.
left, that would look more historically appropriate.
It would.
So skinny them up and keep them the same height or something like that.
Okay, so kind of what we did outside of the grills here, something more like this
Yeah.
with, and then with no space. I mean, if this was one assembly, would that be acceptable, or do we need to have space in between?
Board.
So that's still a door in the middle?
That's a good question. I think if it was one assembly, it would probably be more appropriate, but then I don't know how it works with double hungs next to a door that are all full height. I mean, are you trying to get as much light into this room as possible?
Mhm. Yeah, light and view into the patio.
Right.
And they're like those longer windows that we saw in the other house in the neighborhood that are almost as long as the door on those examples.
Could we look at that one?
Absolutely.
And then while you're pulling it up, the $1 million question for these, if it's a contributing structure and if it's in the development zone.
So based on the criteria in the historic package, we believe it is in the development zone. In fact, I can show you where this building is.
Yeah, this one's just on the other side of Convent, right?
Right on the
Exactly.
corner.
Yeah. But these ones they don't have the same relationship to the doors as you're proposing.
Or the spacing is greater, yes.
So if that trio of that, so that's a single door in the middle and then flanked by two fixed windows. That's correct, right? That's what you've got. So
Yes.
I think what Grace, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what Grace is getting at is kind of the solution there would be to make the door look, kind of leave the door, obviously the proportions of a door, and then make the windows look more like, other windows, rather than a full, almost to the floor configuration. So skinny them up and make them kind of the proportion of those three windows to the left there on the top, yeah.
And so there's more mass between the door and the two windows on the side that it looks like it's a block formation. Is
Yeah.
that what you're talking about, Grace?
Yes.
Yeah.
So do I understand, do you mean to just make the two windows narrower so they're not quite as wide, but they can still be long like that other house that we saw? They just need to be narrower this way? Is that what you're saying?
I think so, and I'm not sure those windows go to the floor or almost to the floor on that other house, but
Or I didn't mean floor, I mean to the floor of the door on that other house. They seem to be the same as the doors, were quite similar.
yeah,
I think they're close.
let's see that.
If you look at you can see there's a step next to them. If you project a line over,
Yeah.
they're not down to the floor, but they're definitely pretty low.
Yeah. I think that would be appropriate.
Yeah.
Okay. So not one assembly, you want two separate windows.
Yeah.
Proportionally make them more narrow. They can be elongated like they're shown here, but you want more space in between, like what's shown here in this elevation as well.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you're going to be able to get that type of spacing. I don't know how big that
Yeah, okay.
elevation
Yeah, I mean,
front is, but I think if
And
you
we're
could
probably
get
needing
16
another-
inches,
Mm.
Okay, we'll
Yeah,
take a look at.
the same kind of idea in the in the giving the impression of a solid or a masonry construction with the depth of those windows.
Okay.
I mean,
Any
the other
questions or
option
comments?
I think the other option you have, and everyone else on the board, please chip in, is having a door with, like narrow windows on either side of the door as one assembly. There are a couple examples of that in the neighborhood and definitely in your development zone.
The true side light. Is what
mhm.
you're thinking. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like a transom and two side lights.
Yeah.
Just throwing that one out there in case that appeals.
The windows are
That-
different. But yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would look at your development zone, which looks to be that looks to be fairly correct, and see what examples you have of how close the windows are next to the door, and see what the smallest one is, so you can get the biggest windows to the sides if you stick with that option.
Great.
And you know, on the windows on this white building with the red trim, I think those are actually 6. The one on the far right is 6/6s, and so I think you have drawn 9/1s in the drawing, but the 6 over the fewer of the mullions you have, you're going to save some money. If you just do a
Sure.
6/1, that might be a cost saver.
I thought that's what I had drawn on. There were the 6/1s. You got me questioning myself now.
No, I did.
Oh, there are the 9/1s. Yeah. All right.
Those are cool, but yeah, I think the 6 is a little cheaper.
Okay. All right, then I'm gonna just keep moving forward. The other thing that we talked about last time was the fencing that we were proposing around the
Chuck,
patio.
before we go on to that, can we go back to the basalt rock you were talking about?
Yes,
Do you have an example? I mean, is it the A mountain type stone?
it is. Let me I do have a picture.
It's actually when we
Yeah.
went walking around the neighborhood, it's something I saw in the neighborhood and saw all over the area. It was on the foundation of a building, and so I thought, well, that might work.
It probably will if it was on the building. Where did you source it from, or where? Oh, okay.
I hunted around to try to find it actually when I saw it on the foundation of the building, and I found it at a place. I don't remember maybe D&G material. It's way out by the airport or past there, but they said they had it. And I got
So
that
this
from
this was a complete stone that we had a contractor see if we could cut it and make sure, it was going to be able to handle it. So, if we were to put it on the corners, we could definitely create a corner so we didn't have, the old
Too skinny.
type of way of making connections. Right? So I feel pretty confident that we can make that work pretty well. And as you can see, it's not going to be like a lick and stick veneer. It's going to have the nice depth, the nice textures to it. I think we'd be able to match, the grout lines of the basalt as well.
Is it multicolors? Or is it
No.
all?
It was pretty consistent as far as this, this brown black. So not really. There wasn't much variation in them. At least not the example I have. Sherry, I guess you could speak to the pile that you saw, maybe.
No, it wasn't colors. It was all kind of the same tone of this darker color with a little bit of the, I don't know if dark brown or purplish to it, but it's mostly this dark.
And so this is a real stone, not composite of some sort.
It's real. And Chuck, do you have the picture that where it was in the neighborhood? I can't.
Yeah. So we found it a couple different areas. The one that was, so this is at I think this is at Stone and Sampson. I think that we have this one here just for the base, but then just outside of our development zone, two houses. Well, this one here is on Simpson. It's two houses west of our development zone on the south side of the road. So very kind of similar idea of what we're wanting to do. You can see it along the foundation, but then going vertical, which is what we're proposing for the fireplace. And then, on Meyer, which is a little bit farther away, but still in the barrio, we have this example of it down there as well.
That's the same
And the,
stone that I was trying to find.
the piece is all random, like I said, the grout lines, we could definitely emulate that pretty well.
So what's the intention where the building meets that yellow adjacent property? We're gonna see the thinness of the veneer at that point, right?
Yeah, I mean, no, I guess our thought, our intent is, that even though they're on the same row, they're different buildings. They have similar, vernacular, similar rules, but there are differences with all the different owners. So the idea would be to put, the basalt down here, stop it at the property line, and then carry it around onto the fireplace in the back too, to have some continuity with material on the project as an option.
And what about it seems like there's a utility sort of directly where your cursor is.
Yeah, there's a gas meter right here. We're working with Southwest Gas, trying to figure out if we can even reuse that location. There was a guy who came out and mentioned that the way that they capped it, it may have been an old line that's not reusable. So if we want to have gas, we may have to bring gas onto the property, and another location. So if we needed to, we could fill that in. So this was flush going across. Or we, just keep it as it is and have the basalt kind of follow the corners of it.
And so with the basalt, on the right side there, where the kind of foundation or facing stones or whatever that is, comes up higher, you're not talking about removing that, and then replacing it. You're talking about just putting the basalt over that.
Yeah, exactly. As a veneer, which is, and this actually is the primary occasion where I wanted to see if we could cut that into a corner piece. Because I feel like if we had just had flat pieces, I don't think that would be very appropriate. But I was excited and relieved to see if they could make a corner out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm kind of troubled by this. If you look at the photos that you showed, the latest photo, that's an obvious applique on that pink building on Meyer. The other ones were more structural and they just have a lot more authenticity to them. The one on the bottom, I doubt that's an original stem wall. That's just an application that they put on there to try and create whatever they were trying to create. So I'm a little bit troubled by that. I don't know what the rest of the board's thought is.
Yeah, I agree. I think
It's like
veneer materials in general I would discourage, just for kind of the appearance's sake. It would be nicer if they were more integrated to the structure of the building.
yeah.
So there was
I mean, there could be stones underneath there
Yeah.
too, but we don't know.
Yeah.
Underneath the plaster or the stucco.
Yeah, I mean, that would be ideal if that was like that. I don't know, you guys have not done that exploration?
We've talked about it. We just
Right.
haven't the trigger on it yet. Yeah.
It'd be a shame if there were stones underneath there and then you just went ahead and put this basalt on there that, is faking what's actually there.
I think I'll talk with Sherry and we see if we can do a little bit of investigative, to see what we can find out what's behind it.
The other thought I have is that part of what I see in the barrio is that houses do kind of blend together. And you can't always tell where one stops and one starts. And that, I don't know if we could call that part of the character, but it feels common.
Yeah, I mean, just throwing the idea out there. You have a precedent 136 West Simpson in your package where the porch has this stone. Whereas the rest of the building is kind of brick all the way down, it looks like. And so I don't know what the board's thoughts would be on, if you use a stone or some kind of finish just on the porch area, and then the part of the building off to the side that does connect with the neighboring building kind of remains similar to what it is, or there's no exposed, it's treated the same as the neighboring building as it exists.
Well, that's interesting. Are you, what are you guys seeing on my screen right now? Because Zoom's
Two
different on my.
rock facades.
Okay,
Yeah, rock porch with a brick building.
so I'm gonna go back to the Google Street then. Are you suggesting maybe that basalt is here?
Yeah,
And
just
that
kind of
this-
as the base of the porch, basically. I mean, you'd have an easier time, I think, would kind of expressing that. And then the building mass kind of remains as this plaster stucco thing. And it's kind of like already in a way because that gas line is separating those two elements somewhat. So, but I would love the board's thoughts on that, option.
Part of the problem with that that pink building with the new veneer on it is it just looks so new.
That just doesn't, it's not authentic at all.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And I guess if you wanted to go that route that's being discussed now and just putting it on the porch, I mean, you could wash it, kind of mortar wash it or something so that it didn't look brand spanking new.
Okay. Well,
I mean-
I think in efforts of time, so I don't want to keep you guys, I know we have limited time. I think when we do maybe come for the final submittal, we'll propose as two options, and at that point, you guys can, approve option one or option two. I want to talk to Sherry about maybe just doing the porch, because that might be a nice transition. It's a nice termination over here where this taller foundation sticks higher. But I think the feedback from the committee right now is kind of in line with the options that Sherry's comfortable with. So when we go to do the final, we'll just present it that way.
Is there an
I'm-
option for all of just leaving it the way it is and stuccoing over it? Sure.
That is one of the options as well.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so I think to Paulo's point, we try to avoid any kind of Disneyland, like like he used baking it earlier. So I mean, that might be from our perspective at least, that might be the most appropriate option, just leaving it like it is. I mean, you could fill in that recess where the utility
Yeah.
is.
I mean, I would explore the option underneath the house to see if that pop out is an actual rock
Yeah.
stem wall. If it is, I think it would be great to expose that and leave the porch stuccoed. And that will clearly define the house versus porch area and be historically appropriate.
What about vice versa? What if the porch is a stone or rock foundation and the one under the house is not?
I think
Either
that would
way.
be fine too. My suspicion is that that's a new porch and that's a CMU little stem wall there. But yeah, if that's the case, then I think that's a viable option.
Okay. Okay. Back to the windows real quick. In her office, we're showing these two options for a picture window, non-operable, facing east. This is her preferred solution since we're going with the single hungs, and is this kind of configuration appropriate, or do we need to?
I kind of like that configuration that's there on the left. I don't know what the rest of the board. I mean, that looks like an old steel casement window.
Which conceivably could have been added
Yeah,
with the addition. I mean, is that appropriate?
I think so.
Okay, all right, I appreciate that.
This is matching the proportion of the window than that addition that you're removing.
Yeah, in fact, I think it's the same size as to what's there.
Yes, it is. We
What's
kept it.
there now.
Yeah.
But just for consistency, can we go around the corner and look at the south facade of that?
I'm sorry, Stephen?
So can we look at the drawing of the south elevation of that portion of the building? So that's on the right there, correct? Yeah. So we've asked for two different, so just to be clear, the upper right is the south, is that corner, correct?
Right, so this is, I think this is the option, this has the longer single hung window.
Yeah.
And this right here has the shorter, and I think we're leaning more towards the longer, more narrow, window, whether it be one assembly or we put some space in between.
So board, we've just asked them to do two different kind of periods on the same corner. So on the east elevation, that is like almost a steel casement type window, and then on this we've kind of gone in two directions here.
I think in proportionality of what that opening is there, that steel look-alike casement looks better than having two double hungs attached to each other. I don't know what everybody else thinks.
Well, you can do, I mean, so I've got that situation in our house. We've got in the back of it, we've got paired double hungs in kind of a
Yeah.
square-ish opening.
We did explore the single hung side by side like that. And Sherry didn't like it, and I don't feel that the proportions worked out quite as well as having just a single fixed window like this. Which is why, we came up with the other option if we needed to, just do complete grills, but really she'd prefer, not to have them down the middle.
Mm-hmm. So question for the board, I mean, so do we want to rethink the, I'm sorry, guys, but rethink this south elevation or keep it with our original recommendation? And so rethinking it would be what I'm saying is, do we want to make it consistent period wise with that window around the corner? This ain't easy.
I think we should try.
Or try to make it consistent with the window.
Consistent, yeah. I mean, I don't know how to do it, but
Well, I mean, that would indicate like a casement style window here on the south elevation, right?
That's the east elevation. I think I've got a bad connection, so I'm getting like snippets at times. So the elevation in the middle, the window in question is the one that looks like a fixed unit in the middle and two casements on the side. Yes. Is that what that window is? Or is that 100% fixed?
It's all,
100% fixed.
Okay, so it's non-operable.
But it's not,
Correct.
they're not casements though. They're
The picture window.
they're 9/1s, double hungs. Unless I'm looking at the wrong thing.
yeah, we're looking at the window next to the,
Fireplace. Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of.
yeah, with the red, yeah.
And where do you
Why
see
can't that be
9?
changed to match the ones on the south?
it's a larger fixed window already that's existing.
Hmm.
And it's on the east side of the building. So it doesn't open now. And if we were gonna put windows to match what's in the back, it would end up being smaller than what the window originally is right now. So that's why we were trying to either keep it the way it is now, which has the grills all the way through it, or the preferred option is the one on the left, at least for me, where it's more of a picture window in the center with the grills on the side to match what we've just looked at around the rest of the place.
So just to be clear, right around the corner to the right, which we can't see right now, we just recommended a steel casement window. 3 lights flanking 1 light, correct?
No, no. I thought we weren't talking about any casement windows. I thought we were talking about single
Double
hungs or
hungs.
double hungs. Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
we went with.
On the east elevation with that kind of squarish opening?
All around all around the building.
Hold on. Okay, on this page that you're looking at, oh, I'm sorry, it's in the lower right. Oh, yeah. That is the same part of the building, right? That it says B1 partial east elevation option 3.
Oh,
That's a third option for that picture window that's on the east side of the building. So second option would be the one on the left. Third, the B1 is the third option, which is literally what it looks like now, actually.
So, yeah,
And you
okay, got it. Okay. So what I'm saying to the board is that so this is a new construction,
Correct.
and we've just asked for a different period window on the right side, on the east elevation, and then kind of a different period window on the south elevation. Do we want to make those consistent, is what I'm asking? Because if we're pretending that this is a period, and I mean, we are pretending here, do we want to make those consistent?
Yeah, that's what Hope was suggesting, I think, is to revisit the east elevation and suggest a double hung window there instead.
Yeah, but so that opening doesn't lend itself to,
Right.
Can you remove that rendering? I don't know if it's just on mine,
I see it too.
so we can look at the elevations.
Stephen, is there another suggestion on a style that would fit that size?
well, not that I can think of, but if that's a new wall, then you can do anything, right?
Well, that's a new wall.
Just to play devil's advocate here, I mean, the double hung windows on the south side seem to have more relevance to the style of the overall house. And there are many examples of houses as they are stepped back, they are introducing secondary and tertiary styles to the building. So there is that inconsistency is present
Yeah.
in many spaces and speaks to the development of the neighborhood in a way, which is kind of fascinating. It doesn't tie it up neatly in the congruity of it, but it is an authentic echo of the nature of many buildings in the neighborhood.
So Darren, you're saying that if this addition, in this addition, say it was built, 80 years ago or whatever, someone could have put that steel casement window on the east elevation, yet still put double hungs on the south elevation.
I'm saying the older buildings, as buildings are built in different decades, they do reflect what is popular architecturally speaking and design-wise. So there are many examples of houses having multiple styles. So I do think the double hung, if we have to like kind of wait this out on the south side, is more congruous to the overall building. And since that has an outside weight with the number of windows and the presence to the street, I'd be more inclined to, rather than trying to resolve this because the scale doesn't seem to allow, to go with the double hung and then allow that to be as a setback, as an addition, a different style, and kind of allow that to be.
I mean, that seems like a reasonable rationale.
I like that.
Mr. Chair, one
Yes.
of the things I may just want to add a little bit of comment is, in historic preservation, there is this idea of not creating a false sense of history.
Right.
So I just want us to be a little bit aware of that, so we don't push to recommend for things which will look as if we are creating a false sense of history.
Yeah.
Well, I think I think we have to do that. I mean, we're, this is a new addition.
Yeah, the code actually says that new addition actually has to be new. You have to distinguish the new from the old.
Right.
So we cannot get the new to look like old because we'll be creating a false sense of history.
Yeah, which
That's
we've
all I'm
always
saying.
tried to abide by that. But obviously we don't want a completely out of context window style, which I don't think this is. Chuck, this portion is existing now, right? And you guys are knocking it down and rebuilding it?
Yes, sir.
Can you go to that photo again? I mean, you have a window that's very similar to this one in that. Please.
Yeah, no problem.
That's a steel casement window, correct?
It doesn't open. It's just a
Right.
fixed window.
Okay. So it's just a steel window.
Mhm.
I think Darren's point is, you
Well
know,
taken.
I think that's well taken, yeah.
Yeah. So I think we can proceed with that.
I
think
agree.
it's totally appropriate.
Okay.
Does
So
it-
just to make sure I
Yeah.
understand that I'm clear, this option, this east elevation option here is appropriate.
Yes.
I'm okay with it. Yes.
All right, fantastic. All right, moving on. I want to talk about some fencing, some fencing options. I think the last time we came was something that was pretty kind of organic. So we went through and looked through the you know the neighborhood. This is their existing patio guard. You know, just gives a physical barrier. Here's a example of their fence just down the street. You know, it's some vertical slots. It gives some physical barrier, and it gives some privacy. And again, I think we've established that around the perimeter of the property, we're gonna go with this vertical, which seems to be acceptable to the committee based on our last meeting. But what we're specifically talking about now is this little area, is this patio here, just off of Sherry's office, that she wants to have a little bit more privacy in. So let me just get back to here. Perfect. All right. So we went through the neighborhood again, like I said, and found some different options. You know, some pretty ornate ones, some pretty standard kind of picket fence, some chain link fence, and there's actually even an example of some horizontal wood slats. Sherry's property is just south of here. Got your standard Ocotillo fence and some chain link fence. You got some Home Depot fence, and then you've got this kind of free form, unique fence that we have here as well. Moving on, you know, and this is actually the property just east of Sherry's. You've got, you know, chain link with some corrugated, and then again the vertical kind of wrought iron. And then over on Simpson Street, you know, this is a good example of some privacy kind of steel fence. You know, more modern looking than I think what's in there. It's in the neighborhood. Then you've got your wood slats, of course, and then here's some more corrugated with the wood frame. That's some examples. So we've got some different options of some additional fencing that Sherry went and looked at, and just, you know, to see, you know, what would be acceptable. So this is option number one for her. It would be ignore the color. The color would be a little bit darker color. It would match the colors of the windows and the door frames. You know, so this is her first option. Her second option would be this kind of, you know, expanded metal with some, you know, Solaro ribs. I think that's out of rebar. And then, you know, just can continue down, expanded metal, maybe having these extend above the top of the fence, and then just more maybe a decorative a decorative one as well as her last option. And again, the purpose of this is just to give her privacy in her patio on the backside of her property.
So the kind of artistic versions wouldn't be found in the neighborhood. They kind of are very foothillsy or suburban. And so I think I could speak for the board saying that those wouldn't be appropriate. And you might see some things like that in the neighborhood, but they're not. They're not appropriate.
And they probably haven't been approved either. I think.
They probably haven't been approved. I mean, I'm sure they.
We were curious about that. We saw some things and we were curious if they'd been reviewed or not.
Yeah, probably not. What are those white lines on, or those white spots on that you're showing? Is that like see-through? What is it?
Yes.
Oh,
Little
no.
holes.
Oh, those
there.
are holes. Then okay.
Mhm.
Are you? What's the thinking on just a corrugated fence without? I mean, if you're looking for privacy, that gives a good amount of privacy.
I didn't want something entirely solid. I wanted something a little more decorative, like some of these other fences are pretty decorative. So I didn't want just a flat corrugated metal. I was trying to find a balance between privacy and some openness.
What about that one on Cushing? I mean, was it on, yeah, well, the Cushing Street Bar and Grill, I think. Or the Cornet, with the close
Wow,
slats.
that's a nice one. Does that offer you enough privacy?
It's not my favorite style. It sort of reminds me of bars. Like just I wanted something a little more decorative and private because you can see actually quite through.
Yeah.
That.
I mean, like Steven said, there's just no precedent for these like artistic fences down here with Ocotillo ribs. I mean, I think if it was an Ocotillo rib fence, it would probably be fine, but an actual Ocotillo rib fence. But making it out of metal, I don't see it in the neighborhood.
So even though the metal panels, like the decorative metal panel is kind of the same as the corrugated metal, it just has a little bit of holes or decoration in it, that's not consistent enough.
No, I mean, I don't think they were using plasma machines to cut those 100 years ago, but
Yeah.
like Michael said, we need to have some leeway with new stuff, but we want it to be appropriate to the neighborhood too.
Has the board approved any kind of vertical members fence with security screen behind it like this slide right now?
I can't remember. Grace, Mitch.
If it was a straight picket with kind of a perforated or a mesh behind it, I think maybe on new construction, but not in this development zone.
So if we did, are you saying something like this?
Freezing constantly
Expanded
here,
metal
Jesus.
mesh behind it?
That was what I was getting at. I mean, and the board needs to, I mean, the board should weigh in on if there's precedent for that or.
It's the irregular ribs that are the challenge here, right?
The irregular.
Yeah, so if we
Yeah.
did something more regular, whether it be vertical or horizontal, because just north of south of Sherry's building, there are some horizontals too. In efforts to try to gain some privacy, can we do more appropriate fence style, but have some privacy screen behind it that you can see through a bit, but it's not completely
Mhm.
opaque, but it does offer her some privacy.
And I think the vertical members would be preferable to horizontal because there wasn't a lot of horizontality back in the day.
What about the vertical ones down there that that kind of look like the Ocotillo, but they're made of metal, so you don't have the same upkeep issue? I mean, what about that? And not so it would be the privacy screen there, not full metal, but with kind of ribs like that look like Ocotillo out of metal that are vertical.
It's just a statement that is more appropriate to foothills or suburbia. not this historic district.
And you keep on using the word organic, but you're
Yeah, what
you're
is that?
definitely not into any kind of like plant or vine or ocotillo. Like that's just not your
Yeah.
desire.
It's a good
Yeah.
question.
I used organic, when we, on our last meeting, what we proposed was really just kind of just all flowy and
Uh-huh.
in form, I guess is what when I was saying that.
There just happens to be a whole bunch of evergreen plants that can address this issue if you wanted to pursue that avenue.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Sherry, anything else?
So I think you had asked the question, Chuck, about the mesh as a privacy. That's okay. I'm calling it the wrong thing. I'm calling it mesh, but you call it like open steel or something, right?
Perforated.
Perforated. Is that okay? Just not with this kind of design type added to it? Is that what I understand?
If it was behind a kind of vertical, something with vertical rhythm like that, I think that's what we're saying.
Okay.
Doesn't seem like we can prevent privacy, can we?
No.
I mean, that seems like a reasonable, yeah.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to, there's three more topics to talk to you guys about.
Okay.
I'm gonna jump into, the fireplace, exterior fireplace that we're gonna be putting in. So, when we last met, we were proposing this angled fireplace, and there was some concern that there wasn't very many angled fireplaces in the development zone. So we went through and found that a lot of the fireplaces were rectangular. They were along some of them, most of them were along the perimeter of the building. They kind of emulated the material of the house that was below. So we came up with some other options, some more rectangular options that we just kind of wanted to propose to you. We also noticed that the chimneys, they kind of either they tapered up or they stepped up as they got taller too. So a couple of options that we're gonna go with. The angled fireplace is still her number one option. But we could do a corner fireplace that's open on two sides that would step up to a smaller chimney or flue for the indoor and outdoor fireplaces to exhaust from. Another option we talked about was just doing one that was flat up against, perpendicular again, up against the south wall of her office. Same kind of fireplace option, but having it flush up against this west wall of her patio. And then this final option here was just, keeping the interior fireplace and just having kind of a window or a pass through so that, there's only one fireplace in this option, but you can still enjoy it from the outside. I do want to show you.
Chuck, really quickly, that interior fireplace that's existing?
No, it is not. No,
It's not existing.
This is part of what we're building back. So we'll be adding this fireplace.
Okay.
Did we say that an angled fireplace was inappropriate? Because
No.
Looking at those drawings, it seems like it's the most appropriate for
yeah,
me.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
not
How
sure.
does everybody else feel on that? I mean, it's the most functional to have it angled there, and it's newer part of the building too. So getting back to not mimicking the old, but in terms of functionality, that looks like it functions the best and looks. But
also there's, I mean, our back adobe has an interior angled fireplace.
Yeah.
Just those exist in the neighborhood on an interior
yeah,
context.
Yeah, I would agree
Thanks,
that the
Sharon.
angle isn't the issue, but I don't know that I guess I don't know that the plan is the best way to explore this because I think mainly what my concern would be the chimney, not so much the
Got some elevations.
Yeah. So this is the elevation of the square fireplace, right?
This top one, no, this is the angled right here.
That's the angle.
Yes. And I do have, I'm gonna post over here where you guys are looking at this one.
So it's it's the same dimension, and
Yeah, so
you
that,
won't see it from the north, is that?
You won't see it from
Correct.
the street, yeah.
You'll see it from the north, but it's gonna be behind her security screen. So you will see the chimney above. This option here does not show the tapered or the stepped chimney. But I do have I do have an option where we,
Not on the corner though. So on the corner, we didn't step it. I don't believe.
only on the, well, there was one that we did step it if, you know, if we need it to do that. But I think the preference is to keep it consistent all the way up.
I would agree.
And there's no chimney. The chimney is going to be a single for both fireplaces. Sorry, but just the rendering, it looks like it's outside of your roof line, right? Completely.
You're correct, yes. Well, we're talking to the manufacturer to see if I can transition it in the ceiling space of the new structure over into this
Uh-huh.
chimney.
Okay.
But these are wood burning, like masonry, or is this a frame?
Like a zero clearance.
So it's going to be
type.
frame construction with zero clearance fireplace.
Exactly.
Will it be a wood zero clearance or is it just gas? Not that that matters, but
I think it's wood option or
wood
yeah,
option. Okay.
the option to burn wood. Yeah, but it might be gas, or I think it was the option to burn wood or have gas, like glass rock or something.
Paulo, are you saying that one vertical plane, like the whole face of that is appropriate?
I mean, I think so. I think it looks a lot better than the rendering where it's stepped.
Huh.
I mean, Philip and I have done a couple fireplaces on the interior of houses that have, it's just a big mass column going up and it looks quite nice.
Mm-hmm.
But is it historic? That looks pretty contemporary to me.
Well, that one does. But I think if you go back to the other one where it's stepped, I think, but this looks like it's a lot wider too on this rendering than the
Well, that's because
it's at an angle. So
Yeah.
yeah.
The concern last
What
time
is
with
everybody else's thought on that?
so my little fireplace in the back house
There's
has
a
a
step.
it's stepped, yeah.
Yeah,
And
but Hope, Darren, Mitch, Grace.
Well,
what do
I'm
you-
wondering, like, what's the most accurate picture of it? To get a sense.
Probably that
Well, they're
rendering.
all accurate. It's just that unfortunately it's at an angle to the building, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
and then the 3D model.
Oh,
so what you would generally see is a fireplace like protruding out, and then it would have a mantle, and then it would step back to a chimney, and very often the chimney would kind of be, I mean, I'm sorry, the chimney would be stuccoed over, but it would taper back as it went up, which I don't think is absolutely necessary, but having a mantle on that would seem to be more appropriate, and then a stepped back, chimney.
does it need to be this wide? I wonder if that's part of the issue.
The unit that she's looking, this is the
Yeah.
dimensions to accommodate it.
That's
Okay.
the
We could
dimension.
look for a different unit potentially. I mean, if the width was an issue, we could see if we could find something.
Let's see what the other board members' thoughts are on this. Nobody has any comments on it besides Stephen and myself.
I think a taper would be more consistent what we're seeing. I think it's the fact that this one is fully, I guess, exterior of the parapet line that's throwing me a little bit. Because the examples in the development zone that we were looking at earlier are all, they're all interior fireplaces, so it's a different condition. I would think if you can find something that's similar to what you're proposing here in the development zone, I think that would go a long way.
Just not a lot of exterior fireplaces.
Yeah.
We approved one about 2 years ago for Bob Lanning. Do you guys remember that one? It was on Simpson or Kennedy. It was the brick house on the south side of that street, and it was approved in the backyard. It was a freestanding fireplace.
Yeah, yes, that is on Simpson. Yeah, next to the pool, right?
I believe so. But I never saw photos of what that ended up looking like. So I don't know, and I can't remember how it was. But I think it was probably a fireplace with hearth and then a stepped chimney going up. But not 100% sure.
Chuck, that's that 136 that you were showing us earlier, West Simpson.
Oh, wasn't? Is that the house?
Yeah. But you can't see it from the street. I'm just,
Right.
if you were exploring it.
Thank you very much.
I just seem to have a problem with that second block on the step fireplace. I'm wondering if it was just a consistent chimney all the way up after the fireplace. I don't know. It's that step that's kind of
You're
bothering.
thinking step one, set the mantle, and then go consistent from
Right.
there.
Yeah. Is that you drawing, Grace?
That's
No.
me, but is
Oh,
that what
that's
you're
you.
saying?
Yeah, or even the skinnier portion up top. I mean, it's I don't know.
Not, so just having the fireplace come up, have a mantle, and then have one step back and have a consistent chimney going up, whatever proportion worked.
I'm frozen again. Unbelievable.
We hear you.
We can also look at, I think to Grace's point, we can look at, see if we can get the, more of the chimney within the parapet line, and maybe we can run the flue from the outside more in, so it's not all exterior chimney, if that's something that would be, something to look at.
Yeah, I think we'd rather see the chimney go above the parapet. Or is that not true, Grace?
Yeah, no, above. It's just that the interior exterior of it, I think that was throwing me off in terms of what we're used to seeing, what we're used to approving. But I think it would probably, you might be getting yourself into a weird situation just visually on this side if you try to do something like that, split the difference. But
Sure.
yeah.
I would say that the large black base looks modern. So I wonder if it's also a materials issue.
The rendering was showing the use of the basalt rock or the neighborhood on the
okay.
bottom, but
That's what that is. Okay.
As an option, yeah.
it's an option.
Mm-hmm.
And again, which wouldn't be visible given the privacy fence, but.
Yeah, and we can't expect the privacy fence to be up forever. And so we have to consider that. Okay, so did we resolve this?
I think as far
I-
as we're gonna get there, I think it's a matter of just their design team deciding, what you want to do, and then
So I'm.
So
I wish we had
Design.
some examples for you. I wish that would make it a lot easier.
Is the first option where it's all just flat and corner, is that okay or not okay at all? I mean,
I would personally say not okay. It just looks very contemporary.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me.
but the corner's okay as long as it steps in and has a mantle. Like in the second option, it just needs to be only one additional step up with a consistent chimney. Is that what I understood from the comments?
That's what I would go for personally. I don't know if people are in agreement, but. And if that were the case, the smaller dimension there on the right of that chimney at the upper part, that would be preferable to a wider.
Yeah.
Okay.
Michael, quorum is 4, right? I'm gonna have to run here, but I want to make sure I'm not leaving you guys in the lurch. If I have to step out, we'll still be okay, right?
Yeah, you'll be fine.
Okay.
Well, thank
Yeah.
you, Grace.
All right, so there's only 2 other things I want to talk about, some light fixtures and then scupper design. So I would just jump straight into that. So I guess one more thing about that fireplace, the basalt on the bottom part, someone had mentioned that kind of like that was a modern look for that. Is that something that would be acceptable by the board or no?
Just on the
They kept-
bottom, yeah.
They kept it down low.
I think she was reading
I
it
thought
like,
it was solid. Yeah, solid steel black. I didn't realize it was rock.
Okay. So basalt below mantle would be okay?
I would say yes.
All right, thank you very much for that. All right. So we're gonna talk about lights and scuppers. I think scuppers would be the easiest ones to do, all right? So as far as lights are concerned, these were some of the examples that we saw throughout the development zone. Obviously you've got the ones that probably weren't reviewed that just picked up and put on there. So these are some options of what she's wanting to do as well. So we've got, option 1 and option 2 here. And then options 3 and then option 4 for the exterior lighting.
So 1 and 2, I mean, that's also seems to me very, very contemporary.
Mhm.
What
And then
about
what about
3?
this, which is kind of a play, it's similar, but it has a more modern look to it, but it's still, I think, has some of the old characteristics of some of the older fixtures that we looked at.
Mhm. I mean, yeah,
I would push for option 3 or 4, I guess.
same here.
Yeah.
Yes, I think I wish they matched more what we see in the neighborhood.
Matched more, how?
Those other.
I wish they were more true to the style of the.
Hmm.
I mean, I see the link, but they still seem. They're gonna stand out as different.
I mean, the weird thing here for us is that, exterior lights weren't historic at all.
Mhm.
So the neighborhood has always struggled with, appropriateness. And I personally, so even number 3, I really like that one, and it's kind of modern, but it does kind of reference that gooseneck historic feel. And I think 4 would be good too. But it's a tough one, lighting. for
I
us.
think the first ones, I mean, those are a little too modern, and I think you'd have problems with dark sky ordinance on those too. Option 3, I agree with Stephen. I'd probably prefer option 3 to 4. You guys are not open to using a warehouse light?
Sure.
Oh, those, they're really big for some of the spaces by the doors that I need to put lights, like on the front porch. So that's why I kind of wanted to go with option 3 would be fine in terms of size wise in those areas.
Where would the lights be? How many lights and where would they be located?
There's one on the front, 1 or 2 on the front porch next to the doors where you enter.
Yeah, we've done some preliminary layouts of kind of where they're gonna be. We've got 3 kind of going down the side just for some access to the back. One on the, a couple on the back patio, one over the back door. And then two off the back building to help with the parking, because the parking lot is back there. And I think we had 2 or 3 under the patio. I don't think I've got it. I think we had 3. We had 3 underneath the patio.
So now I'm thinking that Hope might be right in terms of, because that's going to be super, that number 3, I love that light, but it is super contemporary. And number 4 seems kind of too precious somehow. I don't know.
Well, we could decrease the number of lights if if we like option 3, but you think that there are too many lights, we could decrease the number of them.
Yeah, the light location and quantity was just kind of a swag.
Yeah.
Well, you want to have the light you need.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I don't think those lights are really big. Do you guys have dimensions on those? I mean,
I could get the cut sheets for them.
yeah, but they're not as big as the warehouse lights. It's more, I think it would probably be pretty appropriate next to the doors, the way you have them laid out.
That's one of the reasons I chose these. These were
Yeah.
smaller versions because those warehouse lights were too big for
Yeah,
next
they're
to the door.
big. Yeah. I mean, I'm okay with going with option 3 if the rest of the board is, or 4, but preferably 3.
So, Paulo, my only worry there is that if there's too many of them, it's going to change the whole character of the building. It's going to bring it up to, it's going to look real contemporary. And again, I adore this light. But
We can look at the quantity of those for sure.
and I mean, maybe under the porch, does that seem okay? If they put number 3 under the porch, because that's not.
we wouldn't see them as much.
Yeah.
And how many lights do you have on that east elevation? Was it 4?
There were 3 on that one. 3.
1, 2, 3.
And we'll need something to drive down the driveway with
Yeah.
the lights, but
You need a light next to every door for code. So, I mean, what's the other option, to put the jelly can lights there? I mean, it's small and inconspicuous, but
Yeah, not great design ones, but
In our last meeting, I just wanted to be clear that the door on the bottom that's next to the electrical panel, that's still a functional door in this.
It is not. It is not a functional door. We added the doors back onto the east facade. And then I think that north door there, I pushed it out a couple inches so I could put a frame wall of that, so that I could insulate it. But there's still, I believe, a 5 or 6 inch reveal on the exterior to still give that depth, like we talked about last time.
Thank you.
Of course.
You want to go over scuppers real quick?
Yes, absolutely.
So what did we decide on the lights, though? I mean,
I don't know. I mean, I'm okay with having that number 3 lights on the whole house.
you know, I guess I am too.
Thank you.
I mean, but I don't know, the rest of the board can weigh in.
Let's see. I think it won't cause. I think we'll see them, but I don't think it ruins anything. How about that?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
There are
no,
some
they're fine. It seems like you want something sexy and curvaceous, and I feel like there's, I happen to be an interior designer during my day trade. I feel like there's lights that are
Yeah,
closer to the wheelhouse that aren't those ones, but I don't want to complicate the process.
Okay, scuppers.
There are some examples of scuppers we found throughout the neighborhood, just, typical sheet metal popping through. You got your standard, nice fluted, or the sheet metal with wood frame around them. And then you've got this nice decorative, sheet metal with decoration of it. So this is the profile that Sherry's looking to use. It won't be copper. It ideally she would have them paint it black. That's her first option, would be paint them black to match the fencing and the doors and the frames of doors and the windows. But if it needed to stay, just the kind of the sheet metal gray, that could be an option as well. So, our two questions are the profile and then the color of them.
Precedent wise, is there any problem with their preferred profile? Paulo?
I don't think so. I mean, it's going to be longer than that one that's there, right? I mean, that looks like a
Yeah.
real stubby.
Yeah, and I mean, so the, you know, that one with the flared end, I think has been used most frequently, but I think that's probably an affectation. I think this seems perfectly appropriate.
Yeah, I do too.
All right.
What about in terms of galvanized or black? I mean, what is the final color of the building going to be?
So that we just wanted to confirm. So we're pretty. I think we're still consistent with what we presented last time. And we can look at different paint colors. Gotta find where I put the page 16. Sorry. We can look at the different paint colors that we saw throughout the neighborhood, but the idea is still to have this seal pup blue as a field color, which is very similar. So this is at 80 Cushing Street. This is a sample of the same color we're wanting to use. This is on the south side. This is the north side. So this is direct light, indirect lights. They're very similar as far as the blues are concerned. And then this polished silver would be the trim. And this is at 116 again, that same building that had those tall windows. And it's a similar color to what they're painting along the bottom. So. And then, a dark color around the window frames and window and door frames
Yeah.
and the
I
privacy.
think so. With that being said, I would prefer to see the scuppers in galvanized instead of black. I don't. What does everybody else think?
yeah, a little more natural feels
Yeah.
good.
Mitch, Darren.
Well, what about that? I mean, if that copper's untreated, won't it just oxidize? And
That would look great if it was
Yeah.
copper, but
just saying, like, if you want to have that copper profile and not deal with anything, just don't seal it,
yeah.
and it'll oxidize into that green if that's desirable or acceptable to you.
Okay. All right, I'll definitely discuss that with Sherry. Um,
I guess it's the black that makes it more modern.
Yeah, and then they just stick out like a sore thumb too, I think. It's
Mhm.
just like,
Yeah.
okay, all right. And
um,
then I just wanted to confirm the asphalt shingles that we proposed last time, those were acceptable to the board as well, correct?
yeah.
Okay, great.
Sherry and um, Chuck, I just want to say this is an excruciating process, and I want to thank you guys for being so conscientious. And it's excruciating for you, but it's also excruciating for us. So, but I think your building is going to end up looking great, and it's going to contribute to the neighborhood in a really profound way.
Well said, Stephen. Thank you.
I appreciate all of your time tonight. I know it's
Sherry,
a long one. Thank you so much.
yeah, thank you guys. So board, what's the thinking? Or do you want to make a motion here?
No, you don't need a motion.
Oh, is this a courtesy review again?
It's a courtesy review.
Oh, okay. I thought this was a full-on review. Okay.
But if they're gonna approve it, I'm kidding, right? All right, well,
They will now be coming back with you with all what they have heard in one complete design that they have included all what they have heard from you now for a full review. This is still a courtesy review. But there's no more courtesy. So Chuck, when you come back again, it's gonna be a full review. We can no longer do a courtesy anymore.
I think we got everything. Like Sherry, thanks you guys. I really appreciate the hope was we could get through all this stuff and kind of get a direction. And I feel I've got that today to be able to do the formal presentation and submittal. So thank you all very much.
Are you
for
still
the
doing a change of use?
the change of use from out, it's there as far as
I
the
don't know.
zoning?
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
so that was a previous design. We were actually looking to try to do an addition to the building to increase the square footage. But there was too many hurdles with the development package. So it's why we kind of scaled back to not to do any addition, just to rebuild the part that were demolished. We're not changing the square footage so that the last approved DP can be
Cool.
Can
And
I
you
make,
guys have a meeting in December, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
When is the meeting in December?
Second Monday of the month.
Okay.
if there's no other discussion, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Well, we gotta.
No, you cannot again now. You still have
I have a question about our guidelines.
Yeah, so
Even
we
though-
can, Chuck, Sherry, thank you very much. Look
you,
forward to
guys.
seeing you next month or in January, and thanks again for your time and commitment to this.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Appreciate
Yep, thank you.
Okay.
it.
Okay, on through the agenda. Item number 5, the design guidelines discussion. Hope, go for it.
Well, okay, so I have it opened up and I have not done anything, but I really wanted to have a conversation with everyone to make sure we're all in sync. So as far as you all say, this is approved. Like you guys have decided on these guidelines and there's no further discussion on them. What you want from me is kind of a full clarifying grammatical edit.
Oh, yeah,
And maybe a little formatting.
yes. Mitch,
Okay.
I mean, you're the other only board member here that's worked on that. Are you fine with it?
Mitch isn't here anymore.
Oh, he's gone. Oh, he didn't. Okay,
Yeah,
so,
Mitch and Grace are gone, which is too bad.
okay, so,
Are there elements, Hope, that you are catching your eye beyond grammar?
No, but I see, let me look here.
well, there's a ton of grammatical mistakes in there, that's for sure. And it doesn't flow very well, but in terms of content, I believe it's there. I mean, we spent 4 years on this.
Yeah.
We added a lot of stuff, took out a lot of stuff. Michael, can you just really quickly do the recap on color? Are we allowed to review color?
no.
Oh,
But but on the last meeting, you said we're not allowed to review color, but if neighbors complain about the color that somebody paints their house, then it becomes a reviewable item. Is that correct?
Here's what the code says. Color per se is not subject to review. However, the color has to be consistent with all the colors that are existing within the neighborhood.
I mean, I mean, that second portion tells me it should be something that's on the
Yeah, I
review
agree.
committee's perspective. I
You
mean,
can put it in your design guidelines. I'm just
Yeah.
giving you what UDC says.
yeah.
You're free to.
Where, do you know where it is currently? What
I
you just
don't-
said, Michael?
Oh,
What?
I don't think that's in our guidelines, Hope. I think Michael's reading off the Unified Development Code, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
So
So
we
I don't,
should maybe add that.
I mean, that's what I think should be added in there.
Mhm.
You know that, Michael, you're probably aware of all the uproar of the house that was painted that certain color.
Mhm.
Right. And so my feeling is if it was a reviewable item, there wouldn't be these problems after the fact.
Unfortunately, the way color is done in the UDC, if you're doing a bigger project, color becomes an issue. Most residential projects, they do not lend themselves for color. In fact, we don't do minor review for color, to be honest, we don't.
But what about the consistent issue? Because
Oh.
I mean, I can't imagine it would be considered consistent, and now it will become consistent. Now there's a precedent for that color.
Yeah.
Good point. So, Michael, you said we could add it in the guidelines?
And you can add it in your guidelines. You can
Okay.
talk about it in your guidelines.
Yeah. Well, let's add it in there, Hope, and
Okay.
Let
So
me- I have the code here. I can tell you exactly what the code says on color. So just give me a minute.
Oh, there's a whole color section. Hold on.
is there?
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, it's on page 21.
Can you read it really quickly?
While simply repainting a building in the HPZ a new color or colors is not subject to individual review, color can be considered within a larger required HPZ review of any structural modifications to a property or new construction projects. UDC blah, blah, blah stipulates that colors chosen within the HPZ on any structure should be appropriate to both the architectural style and historic period of any contributing building. You are encouraged to conduct a thorough color examination prior to painting. Consider the following.
Mhm.
And then it has, I don't know, 12 bullets.
Exactly. That's what I was saying.
When
Yeah.
completing a minor design review, the color of your building may be discussed and recommendations may be made. Now,
Mhm.
I don't know about there doesn't seem to be an enforcement. What happens if they don't?
When the language say it may be made, it means that you are allowed, you can do it or you cannot do it.
Yeah.
If you say it shall be made, then it becomes law. When it say may be made, it's a recommendation.
Hope, where are you reading from? The UDC?
I'm reading from the 2020-06 guidelines. We got them in an email from Michael last month, and it's page 21, and it's a whole section called colors.
Mhm.
And those are guidelines, that's in the city ordinance? Or,
No, those are the ones that we've developed for the neighborhood.
oh, okay.
Which
Like, who gets to
actually-
decide
which is actually
may or
the-
shall?
It mirrors what is in the Unified Development Code.
Mhm.
That language is a language that is in the Unified Development Code and is in UDC section 5.8.9.L.1 color. That's what I'm saying. That's what I was saying to you. And that language that Hope is reading is taken directly from the code.
UDC. So,
Yeah.
okay. So then,
It references that,
yeah,
Yes.
so we do have something in there, so, okay.
but
That's
it's not a
exactly why I
requirement.
told you this. No, it's not. As much as we do minor reviews, we don't do minor review for colors, unfortunately.
And
So
we
it
can't
sounds like
change
you would
that.
like to do that, Michael, huh?
Less of a work for me.
What?
Less of a work for me.
Hmm.
That
Okay.
wording seems like it's strong enough. I mean, if it's discussed, and most people are going to be pretty sensitive about what they're doing to the neighborhood on their house, seems like.
It
Yeah.
seems like the people we were just talking to had no interest in being sensitive to the neighborhood.
But you mean on Kennedy and on
Yeah.
Well, they didn't go through review either. So,
Oh no, the Compton. No, I mean even the Cushing people. They didn't seem very historically
oh, yeah,
inclined.
well, what I mean is, if you're going, but they listen to us. They're
Yes. Yeah.
receptive to what our job is. And so I think most people are, especially, I mean, if they're bringing their design before the board, I mean, they're pretty sensitive, but, so, and it would seem like that wording is strong enough. I mean, and really, can it be stronger? It sounds like no.
Then my question is, if we get neighbors complaining about something, given this language, is there anything to even bother reviewing, since those people are not really restricted from doing whatever they want?
Good question. I mean, can we put in stronger language and then someone could challenge us if, on legality? I mean, and we could just expect that as to possible.
You could.
Let's do that.
I mean, this needs to get approved by mayor and council, correct, Michael?
That's correct. You
And so
could,
would they be the
but-
ones that would curb our language?
Yeah, you could, but I can tell you upfront that when it gets to the level of plans review subcommittee or when it gets to the level of the staff, some of the language will be taken out because the guidelines cannot supersede the UDC.
Say that again, Michael, the guidelines what?
Your design guidelines language cannot be stronger than the language of the code. The code is the
Got it.
law.
And just playing devil's advocate, if this board was to be sued, then how would that be represented? I mean,
That is why you have to go. Once you finish your job here, you have to go to plans review subcommittee. Staff has to look at it. We need to get the attorneys to look at it also before anything else. So you cannot. It's not just remember that once you do this, it gets included in the Unified Development Code and it becomes codes. But
Okay.
the language that you put in the guideline, currently your guidelines are part of the UDC. So the language in the design guideline cannot be stronger than the language in the UDC. For
Right.
example, there is a Fort Law. It's an advisory board, just like you people are. They are designing their guidelines and they came up with this idea that they wanted to define their own development zone. And we told them you cannot do that. They insisted that they want to be the ones to determine their own development zone. And we said, no, the code has already determined what the development zone is. So the advisory board cannot come and turn around and say they want to define their own development zone. It doesn't work that way. And we checked with the city attorneys. The city lawyer said, no, there's no way. What is in the code, the advisory board cannot do their design guidelines to surpass that.
Yeah.
That's the same language I'm bringing out here.
So I think we've got the same language as the UDC for the color, so we leave that. I think what's important here is to try and get these guidelines approved by mayor and council and have them in place. There's major projects coming that would be helpful for us and the
Yes.
applicants to have these in place. How long does this
Okay.
take, Michael, once we're done? Like, does it go to the mayor and council the following month or?
No, 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 no.
Right.
Once you finish, once you get done, it has to go to the plans review subcommittee. And it is after the plans review subcommittee that it then goes to, then we look at the mayor and council calendar to find out when they will be able to.
Okay.
And that is a whole, as you know, is a whole different ballgame. We
Right.
have no control over that.
Now, should we have representation at PRS and mayor and council?
Yes, you will. Yes, you will.
Then that would be one of the board members or multiple
That will
board
be
members.
one of the board members that will go, that will present you at PRS for any questions that the PRS may have. Then they should be able to answer those questions.
Okay, so we'll have to find somebody to be able to do that, board.
Whenever it is scheduled.
Right. Okay, so priority now on this, Hope.
Yeah,
Is
I hear you. I'm gonna try to get
checking
it.
it.
I should be able to get it done
I'm
before our next
frozen.
meeting. Oops.
Ugh.
No, it's
So
maybe here. I
once-
just turned my video.
Whenever you finish with it and all of you agree that here is the document and here's the way you
Mhm.
see it, then you need to send it to me, and then I will then schedule a meeting with the plans review subcommittee, and I will let you people know, okay, the meeting for the review of the Barrio design guide, revised design guideline is so and so day. And then you will need to send a representative to come for that meeting so that you'll be able to answer.
Michael, that instance where someone wanted to determine their own development zone, was that in our neighborhood?
No, I just said it's not in your neighborhood. I've just said it was the Fort Law Historic Zone Advisory Board. They are revising their guidelines as you are doing, because we're encouraging all the advisory board to revise their design guidelines, because this has been the ones that are in place have been almost like 20 years or so. So one of the things that we're doing from the Historic Preservation Office is to try to ensure that these design guidelines are revised. We have been doing this for the past 4 or 5 years, and we're slowly but surely getting close to it. I think by next month, West University Design Guideline is going to Plans Review Subcommittee. You are about finishing your own. Fort Law, we're discussing with them, they're about finishing their own too. And then Amory Park is also in the process of finalizing on there. So we want to get all these things together.
Yeah.
And the advantage of this is that things have changed from the way when these guidelines were written about some 20 years ago.
Cool.
And now you are faced with situation where we're in the modern era where the materials are different now. Additions are coming in more frequent. Things are just so. That is why these design guidelines are very much important for to be done.
Okay.
So Hope, no, like, I hate to ask this question, but do you have any idea on timeline? I mean, I
Yeah,
know.
I'm
No.
gonna try to get it
No.
done. But definitely before our next meeting.
Oh, you are, okay, that would be
Yeah.
wonderful, and it's really, really appreciated because this
Yeah.
has been a lagging issue for years.
Yeah.
So, okay.
I
Great.
have can I ask it like a formal, functional question on our board? I'm just curious about when we do a formal review and there's many components, and say we have issues with a specific area.
Mm-hmm.
Is it just across the board, just like yay or nay, or how is there any nuance to that? Or
Yeah, then what you people can do, what the board can do is, if you have a project that has so many facets, multiple aspects, the board can choose to make motions to recommend approval for X, Y, Z, and then the board can say, okay, on this one, we do not recommend approval for this, instead of just saying yes or no. Because when you say yes or no like that, you kill the whole project.
yes.
So the board has the liberty to pick and choose, to do several motions. You can do a motion on the windows. You can do a motion on the doors. You can do a motion on the lights. You can do a motion on this. And then the aspect that you do not like, you can make separate motion on that. That way, you keep the project moving to the next phase and give the applicant the opportunity to either revise the plans to meet what you have said. And also take note that you are making recommendation. It still has to go to plans review subcommittee. The plans review subcommittee will make its own independent recommendation. And then third, it will then go to the planning director, who will then take your recommendation and the ones on the plans review subcommittee and make a final decision. What this means is that some of the things that you may recommend approval may get to the director and not figure in the decision-making process. The director may just keep it aside and pick on different things that you recommended.
Great. It's great to hear that that it has that kind of nimbleness to it that allows for.
Yeah, it does.
Great. It's great. Thank you.
Yeah, and we've approved projects and based on certain conditions too, that these are the things you have to change just to keep it moving, because we
Yeah.
don't want to drag people down in the process of not getting
Higher
projects
project.
done.
Yes, exactly. It's
Yeah.
great to hear that.
Cool. Okay, let's go to number 6. Michael, any staff updates?
I have like 3 minor reviews on solar projects in the barrio, which I'll be reaching out to you, Paulo, something so that we can
I think
get
one's at my house though. Is that possible?
which one, what address is it?
575 South Main.
Yeah, I have it.
You do.
I have 432 South Mayor Avenue for solar. I have 575 South Main Avenue for solar. I have 460 South Otero Avenue for solar.
Okay.
Those are the 3 that I have in the barrio.
So I can do my own review.
I'm probably, you cannot review your own
Yeah, I
project.
know. I know.
I'm looking at trying to schedule them maybe sometime next week.
Is there anybody that would volunteer to do those reviews that's here now?
That's how we handle minor reviews.
Well, for certain things, you're right. So one of the board members, it goes on site or on Zoom and reviews it.
Oh.
I feel like I want to get a little more time under my belt before I'm doing solo reviews.
Okay.
It's all right. Okay.
You said solar, not
Solar.
solo, right? It's solar.
Yeah.
Solo
Which falls
solar,
under a
though,
minor
right?
review.
Minor solo solar. Is that what you were meaning? Not Joe?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would be, I don't feel like I'd be qualified without knowing what the board has done in the past.
Yes.
And boy,
Yeah, there's no problem. I'm going to contact Grace. Grace has
Grace is
been on
good.
for a while,
Okay.
and she's done a lot of these reviews for the
Yeah.
board. So
Mhm.
I'm not going to be worried about that. And then the other thing I need to let the board inform the board, the position of the historic preservation officer is been running for a while. They extended the deadline to December the 2nd to allow more people to apply. So we don't
Nice.
yet, so the application process is still going on. So if you know anybody who's interested in being the historic preservation officer for the city of Tucson, please pass on the information to them.
Okay.
Well, I would suggest taking out the words thankless job in the job description.
Is
If
that
you-
it?
if it's in there.
So those are the only updates that I have. I do not have any case for full review that I'm working on. Hopefully, Chuck is going to do a turnaround and submit his application to come back to you for a full review.
Okay.
Those are my updates.
All right. Well, let's make a motion to adjourn. And everybody, thank you very much for your time.
I motion it.
Cool. And Stephen? Yes.
All in favor, me.
Aye.
Aye. Darren, thank you. All right, guys, have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all.